Good morning, folks. Welcome to a video specially made for the Next Step Woodcraft group. And I thought, since we're going to be spending time at home and maybe alone, I thought we could maybe do something using wood. Now, I know not many of us have clamps and vices and saws and chisels at home, but I thought we could try and do something that would be able to be done on the kitchen table. Now, Charlotte is going to be doing some art based again on the kitchen table stuff and using stuff that you would have at home rather than any fancy equipment. So I thought we'd have a go at some woodcraft. So here goes. So here we have a simple block of wood and matches. So very different to the kind of wood that we'd be using on a Friday at the Next Step, but wood nonetheless. Then using a simple kind of cutting knife that you can get at deals. You can get these, they're quite cheap, but the bigger kind is better than the smaller one for this. So just bring the blade out, there's the blade out, and a simple block of wood. Now this wood is very important for cutting. So what I would be doing is just putting my finger there and then just cutting down, and it makes quite a nice sound as it cuts through. Now this is quite funny, of course, because normally we'd be used to big pieces of wood, you know, and using the saw and cutting accurately. Well, this is so small that we can't really mark it with a pencil. Well, you could mark it with a pencil, but I'm just thinking that we're going to do this kind of in a fun way. So taking some bits of wood, matches, you could just cut them. Maybe cut the heads off them or not. The heads can be quite useful, although we don't want anything to be set on fire. So cutting bits. Oh, I'll bring this back in to cut this head off this one. Now today I'm just going to give you really a bit of an introduction to the materials, to the wood, to the timber, you know, and perhaps you could think to yourself the sort of thing that could be made. I was thinking of kind of like doll's house furniture or something like that. But anyway, taking the wood there, next thing we'll do is get some glue, and this is the sort of glue again you would get from Mr. Price or Deals, and I'm just going to squeeze out a drop of the glue here onto the surface. Now this is very good glue. It's the wood is very light, so it won't take much, but it doesn't dry instantly. So that could be a little consideration. Of course, if you had a hot glue gun or something, that would work quite well. So I'm just going to make something very simple. I'm going to do it on top of the black there so that you can see better. And let's just put a piece under here. And let's cut some other bits. And I'm going to use a match to apply the glue here. Dip it in there, put some there, and put some here. And then we can put a piece across. And your matches are quite handy for pushing stuff around. I've got big clumsy fingers, you know, but you know, you can always just use a matchstick just to move things around. And there's a small start to something. Let's see, so we could keep on going. We could build almost. Well, let's see if. You know what, let's see, that could be the back of a chair. Now what I would do if I was doing that is I'd set that aside to let that dry, and it will probably take about 10 minutes for that to dry. So let's make another piece of this chair. This doll's house chair. I'll bring that back into the shot. And these could be legs. And a couple of wee cross pieces, I think. You know, your imagination could go kind of wild with this. There's all sorts of things that you could do. But again, just snip through, just a bit of pressure on the knife. But this is very important. You don't want to be cutting into your actual kitchen table. So, and then this matchstick with the glue on the end. So let's put a drop of glue there, and a drop of glue there. And we could put on this piece. And I'll put a piece here. Put a piece there. And this will go under there. Whoops. It is a bit fiddly. I mean, that's one of the things about using matchsticks as opposed to the kind of wood that we use at the next step. It's kind of, you've got to be kind of delicate. I'm using the knife to hold it down as I'm putting this into place. So there is another part. Now these pieces are solid now. You know, they've had time to dry out, and while these were drying, I made these legs as well for our small doll's house chair, and these are also dry and ready to use. So one thing I was going to say was these matches, these Cara matches, everybody might be more familiar with them than me, but I looked them up on the internet. Maguire and Patterson. They were established in 1882 in Belfast, and then they moved the production to Dublin in 1905, and they carried on working and making matches from 1905 right up till 1989. And now it says on the back of the box that the matches are made in EU, so I think actually they're not made in Ireland anymore. So that's Maguire and Patterson. They made a brand of matches called Bo Peep, which I think are available only in the north. But that's just to give you a bit of history about Maguire and Patterson, the Cara matches. But the other kind of matches that I've been getting lately are these from Lidl's, and then you get 3 boxes, 3 big boxes of these matches for about £1.50. Then the other matches I've got are these extra long ones, again by Maguire and Patterson. So you do a lot with these now. I haven't really come to use these yet, but they're big, massive chunks of wood compared to these smaller ones. Anyway, back to our little chair. So I'm going to stick this piece on actually last. I'm going to put the legs on first, and I think the legs are going to be like that. A bit of glue on them, and then they will go there. That's one leg on one side. I'll keep it upturned just now while the glue kind of sets on the other side. And that'll go there. Now, do you know, I think I'd better put this aside to let that harden. We'll come back to it in a few minutes, because otherwise it's going to collapse. That's the thing about the wood adhesive. It's just not instant, but if we've got plenty of time in our hands, then we can be patient. We can do that, we can let that dry, then we can move on to something else. We'll always do something else and come back to this. So we're not just concentrating on the one thing all the time. So let's just leave that dry for a bit, and then we'll come back to it and we'll be on our way. Now our legs are dry, they're nice and firm. So we'll stick the back of the chair on and just check I've got this round the right way. That'll go, it's actually that way. Yeah. So use the matchstick for the glue again and just put some on. Yeah, the wood glue really is pretty good if you can leave it for a half an hour or so would do. And just squeeze that leg in there, I hope. Yes. Was it that way? Oh dear. I can't remember. There was a right way and a wrong way. And I can't just remember. I think that's it. I don't want to force it too much in case it breaks. That's it there. That's it there. Oops. This is terrible. But it's actually going to stick all right. That's it. It's actually going to stick all right. I tell you what, I need more glue. So just add a bit more glue there. So there, put the glue back on, plenty glue, and that's it now. So that's the chair. I wondered about putting a few slats across it. Oops, that's just clumsy handling. It'll stand all right just now. I'll put some glue there and some glue here, and use this to pick up a piece for there and a piece for there. And that might do. It's a sort of like a chair you might find maybe in the garden or something. And the slats let the rain go through. So there we go. There's our little chair. Finished. Now, another thing I thought we might try to do is to make a table. Now, these are some pieces that I've cut earlier. So what we're going to do is, I've cut the heads off them. I've cut them all to size. These are the 4 legs here, and this is the top. Now, what we'd be doing, I'm going to try and use the glue that I was using first that I showed you, the white glue, the PVA, actually takes quite a long time to dry, and for a structure it might not be the best thing. So I'm going to try this, which is a super glue, and again you can get that from Deals, and I believe Deals are still open in the city at the moment. So we'll try this and see. This should stick more instantly, but it's the sort of thing that you really don't want to get on your fingers. So we'll try this out and see how this goes. It should be much more instant. And I have got some on my fingers. I just don't want to stick my fingers together now. Right, so that's the way to do it. I've put it down there. I'm going to put another piece, put glue on another piece, and try that. Now it's not stuck right away. but we'll hope that it is. Oops! Try that again. Yeah, there's plenty on there. I was going to put more on, but there's enough on it. I read the label and it doesn't actually say that it sticks wood, sticks ceramics and metal, but oh gosh, that's not very good at all. Okay, so forget that. The super glue is not a good way to do it. Oops. So I'm going to close that up and we'll try some actual wood glue, wood adhesive. So I'm just going to, yeah, we've run out of glue now, so we're just going to put some more glue into here. Opening up the container again and fishing out some more of the glue. And then, now I want to, oh, this piece has come away, so I'm going to put some more glue on it. I'm saying this needs patience, but I know very well that there are people coming to the woodwork who are carving beautiful pieces and they've been at them for ages. So I know people have patience all right. Now there, I'm not going to turn it over just yet. Whoops! But what I'm going to do is put another couple of pieces across the way, just to kind of give it a bit of support. I'm going to use these pieces. Yeah, that'll do fine. And that'll just give it a bit of extra support. Give the legs a bit of support on that side. So that kind of holds the legs in from both sides. And as I say, that hot glue gun would probably be very much more instant. Now for some reason that piece is a bit longer. Oh well, I'm going to take it off because I don't want it to stick out too much. So I'm going to take this off. I'm going to cut it. Small bit of it. And put it back on. Oops, hey! Use a matchstick to manipulate it back on. There, that's much better. Now I'm going to leave that this way round to dry a bit before I turn it over, because I don't want it to, I don't want the legs to fall off yet. So let's just leave that aside to dry. And great. And finally I thought I'd try something else. I'd prepared these pieces before. Something I'd done earlier, as they say. So these pieces were put together and they're already stuck. It's going to be a bookshelf. So these are the sides. So that's the sides, the little legs there, and the brackets on which the shelf will lie. So we'll use the wood glue method again. So put plenty on, and yeah. Oops, that's a very messy bit there. That's it off now. It should be possible, of course, if you're really careful, to sandpaper the wood just to make it nice and smooth and to take away any kind of gluey marks. Gives a really nice effect. But anyway, we'll just try this into the thick glue. So I'm just going to, that's one side. And just put the glue, well, we need more glue I think. I want this to be really quite secure. And let's put the other side on. So, of course, if we'd been doing this at the Woodcraft session, we'd have been using screws, but we're relying totally on the glue. The glue should be very, very strong when it's dry, but of course it needs to take time to dry. Now, if I tip it over onto its side, I think it might be a better way for it to be. It's so light. Oh, there. Yeah, so we'll leave that just now and leave it again to dry, and hopefully that'll stand up and you could put your small books on it. And finally, here's our little chair in a kind of room setting, along with a table and a bookcase made in the same kind of way. These were ones I did earlier, of course. So anyway, that gives you a bit of an idea as to the sort of thing that you might try and do. And yeah, we'll leave it at that. Over to you, and I hope you might come up with some ideas, and yeah, we'll just try a few things. Cheers for now, folks.